Good morning! And what a good morning it is for people who are playing Armored Core 6, at least for, where I'm at. Yeah. This was a welcome thing to, basically wake up to. Well, technically, I didn't wake up to it. I saw this drop in the middle of the night while I was at work, because, because I work nights, but I saw this, and I basically, puckered my lips, telling myself, "Yo, this is going to be juicy." And from what I looked over, this is a pretty juicy patch. So in about a moment, we're going to be looking over patch 1.03.1 for Armored Core 6, and this is looking to be a good one. This is looking to be a good one. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to actually, delve into this, cause, yeah, we were at a point with Armored Core 6 where the meta was basically established. We knew what was good, we knew what was busted, we knew what was underperforming, and it was about time for a change to be made. And it looks like, at the right time, FromSoft basically went, you know what, you're right, a change does have to be made. So, yeah. In a moment, I'm gonna drink some water first before we get into this. See, this, at the very least, you know what? This makes my Monday pretty good. Well, my work Monday. Today's my work Monday, so at the very least, this makes my work Monday a pretty, decent one to get through, so. This is my reward. This is my reward for it. And this is the reward for all the currently playing AC6 players who trudged on through the Zimmerman era. And why do I call it the Zimmerman era? Well, cause yeah, one of the biggest things of this patch that I already saw that everybody spammed about was that the Zimmermans got nerfed. So fantastic. Yeah. Already, I can say that, depending on how much they were nerfed, that was honestly pretty well-deserved. Those things were overperforming as hell. Instead of being an option, they were basically useful in most, builds, essentially. Especially with how, close combat-oriented and, the speed of, AC6. You could just stick Zimmermans on anything, on any build, and you would basically have, a better build there. So, yeah, let's not delay any further. Let's just go through the balance adjustments. Yeah, my voice is still kind of shot from yesterday, which is kind of a problem, but that's why I have water next to me. So, if my voice starts to get a little strained, just don't mind me if I take a swig of water every so often. So, I don't need to go through this opening blurb right here. It just tells you, hey, new patch dropped. Please apply the patch before playing the game, or else you won't be able to play online and that stuff. So, let's just get into it. Balance adjustments. Let's start from the top. Explosive thrower Taiyang Shou. This one is the basically grenade thrower. Yeah, it's the shield that throws grenades, basically. Increased effective range, total rounds, and decreased reload time. Perfect. This thing, it was a cool weapon, but it was kinda niche in its usability. I'm sure there were people that were really good at using it pre-patch, but increased effective range, that alone makes this much more usable. And I already saw how much the effective range got, increased with this weapon. And the effective range got increased to 125 meters. So that's great. I expect to see a lot more explosive throwers being utilized from this point forward. So I've started to come around to using explosive throwers myself, but I haven't really implemented that in PvP yet. So I want to go and try this out. Make a build that includes a Taiyang Shou and see just how good the explosive thrower is now. Moving on, we're going to go to the linear rifles. Both of them, well, both of them have decreased charge time, which is... They both have decreased charge times, which is actually great, because linear rifles, though they were a good option, there were certain areas where they could definitely use like a little bit of a buff. Yeah. Decreasing charge time, especially on the Harris, is a pretty great buff, because the Harris charge shots were already strong for their impact damage. Not accumulated impact, but impact damage. Because you have decreased charge time right there, well, actually, I'll just focus on the Harris right now. Basically, decreasing the charge time means you can get these Harris shots off faster, because Harris used to have like a charge time of 1.5 seconds, basically. Or around that. 1.5 or like 2 seconds. I need to remember like which one of the two of that is. But I saw that the charge time got decreased by half. It was reported that the Harris charge time got decreased by half, which is a major buff. So you're going to be seeing a lot more Harris being used. And it was already a great weapon, but on top of that, you get increased charge attack power and cooling. So what this means is that when the Harris pre-patch fired off a charged shot, you would basically be waiting for it to cool down. It would basically instant overheat. But now, with increased cooling, you actually have the room to actually fire off a couple of shots after firing, like, maybe, like, a charge shot. So, that is fantastic. Harris, I'm actually excited for this because the linear rifle buffs basically tell me that I am now able to make a pseudo sniper build, because snipers don't exist in this game. A pseudo sniper build without feeling like I'm basically nerfed to hell. So, great. And Curtis buff, decreased recoil and charge time. Just another general buff to the Curtis, on top of the buffs that were already in place last patch. So, Curtis is now a solid option. It is a solid option now. Now, when it comes to the shotguns, this is where the big one is. Look down here, Zimmerman. Decreased attack power, impact, accumulative impact, direct hit adjustment, overall nerf. Overall nerf. And I already saw from other people's comments on other sites that the impact damage got nerfed by about 200-ish. So I need to see that for myself, but 800 like or so impact damage nerfed to 600, while that is still a lot of impact damage, that actually gives that is actually enough. In my opinion, that should be enough to give lightweight builds a fighting chance against these things. And then all of this other things right here, all these other decreased attack power, direct hit adjustment, that's just the cherry on top for just like an overall nerf to what is basically one of the most overperforming weapons in like the vanilla game. Unfortunately, when it comes to shotguns, I'm very curious as to why they decreased the direct hit adjustment. And for those of you that don't know, direct hit adjustment is basically the multiplier that you get upon attacking somebody who's in a staggered state. So when you break their stagger, when you stagger someone, the direct hit adjustment is basically like a multiplier to your damage. So they decreased it for the Haldeman, which I don't think it was really needed, because the Haldeman was like the honest shotgun. Like, it was the honest shotgun. It was good, but not overperforming. It did its job, and I don't think it needed really any adjustments there. So with lower direct hit adjustment, I feel like if you want a direct hit adjustment like shotgun, you basically go with the Sweet 16s now. And Sweet 16s, people were just finding out, or like just finding out within the last like week or two that Sweet 16s are actually kind of nasty. So hey, these nerfs give more room for the Sweet 16 to shine, and I'm all for it because boy do I love the trash can. Handguns. This is more like a PvE buff, increased total rounds. Handguns did not have a lot of ammo. These just more ammo equals more usage of the handgun in PvE. It's not really necessary in PvP, so because of how short the engagements are. So this is just to me, a strict PvE buff. Same thing with these, burst handgun and needle gun. The Viento, I don't think needed well, actually for PvE, I guess the Viento really did like need the ammo buff. Yeah, especially in like long missions, so I can totally understand this. But yeah, speaking of the Viento, because of the nerfs to certain overperforming weapons, we're probably going to see a lot more Viento if you want to go for like a weapon that essentially will serve as your impact accumulator, essentially. So I like the Viento, but well, we need to see just how good they perform now, because I mean, two Vientos plus like the kinetic drone, you can rack up impact damage very fast with that combo. So we'll just see how much that is actually going to be utilized. I know I utilize it in like one of my builds. So yeah, here are a couple of buffs that I really like. Just increase projectile speed and decrease reload times for the bazooka class of weapons. And even the Javelin Alpha, which in my opinion was basically the best bazooka. This was, in my opinion, the best bazooka that you could use, like pre-patch. Now with the increased projectile speeds, the hope is that these are actually more usable, because God almighty, were these things like slow. These things were slow. On top of being like the kind of weapons where you actually have to stop a bit to fire them, like at least on like a biped. Yeah, it really needed these buffs. Like decreased reload time and increased projectile speed, perfect. Hopefully the projectile speed increases are enough, and the decreased reload times are enough. And in the same vein as the bazookas, something similar is the grenades. Yeah, the grenade rifles. Basically increase total rounds and like projectile speed. So just like with the bazookas, you get faster like shots out of these grenade rifles. But just like, well, an extra here is that how grenades work now in Armored Core 6, they made this change, and I honestly think this is a really good change to the effectiveness of like grenade type of weapons, is that when they reach, I'm assuming the apex, not the apex, when they reach their effective range value, they will basically automatically explode. So you're not going to have situations where the shot will just like fly into the distance and like disappear without exploding. When they reach their effective range, the grenade will basically explode. So these things actually have more longer range value now, on top of the increased projectile speed. So instead of like using grenades like how most people would use them pre-patch, which would be like close range, like a bit high in the air, because of this change, you can actually there's actually more like positions where you can actually fire a grenade, and actually have more like distance between you and the enemy. So more positions to fire the grenade from, and more distance at which you can fire the grenade from because of now because of this change here. So great, I like that. I might actually play around with this. I do like the idea of just having an AC that's just kitted with grenades, just all grenades, and I want to see if that's actually like feasibly work. I want to see if that actually works now. Because it did not work whatsoever when I tried it pre-patch. I have to remake my grenade build because I deleted it, because I got frustrated with it. But I'm fine with remaking it. Next one here, this is a really weird one. This is a really weird one. Like, I saw this as I was looking at the grenades here. Decreased charge attack power, charge impact, charge accumulated impact, and increased charge time for the Nebula. Now, the Nebula, I don't think the Nebula needed these nerfs. I mean, personally for me, I think the Nebula was at a pretty good space, cause when it comes to like the charge attack of the Nebula, you still have the drawback of that you have to like stand still for a second in order to fire it, at least for like bipeds. But on top of that, I don't think the like charge attack power was super egregious to the point where it needed a nerf. Sure, it was the preferred of the two like Nebula class like rifles to use. The other one being the Coral version of the Nebula. But I mean the trade-off here was supposed to be that the Nebula was the one you would use if you wanted charge attacks. And whereas the Coral one, the Redshift, I think it was called the Redshift, but that one was the one. No, the Redshift is the Moonlight Blade. I don't know what the Coral one was, but the Coral one is essentially the uncharged one. If you want to use uncharged shots, use the Coral one. If you want to use charged shots, use the Nebula one. So I don't know how much this messes with that dichotomy right there. So we'll just wait and see. Here, though, siege missiles, the apparative. Thank God. Like, increased reload time, okay. Decreased guidance, though, that's it. That's what we needed. That's what we needed. These things were basically the best, in most situations, like hand missile to use, and a staple of missile boat builds. Depending on how nerfed, like, the guidance is, we might actually see this fall in line with the other, hand missiles. Thing is, I hope they don't nerf it too much, because I don't really like to see it when weapons are just nerfed to, like, uselessness. So hopefully the apparative is not, the guidance is not nerfed to uselessness. Like, we're not talking about, like post-patch Balteus, like, missile guidance nerf, okay? We're not talking about that. I don't want that. But a little bit decreased guidance, so you can more easier dodge them. Perfect. Oh, and just... let's see here. Okay, yeah. Just like with the grenade rifles, the grenade cannons, which are the shoulder grenade launchers, they also have the same characteristic that, hey, if they reach their effective range, they explode. Pre-patch, that didn't happen. But, here's the thing, earshot. This is a buff to the earshot, but also decreased reload time. This is very big for the earshot, because the earshot, the reload time was horrendously long. It is basically the earshot is a really good grenade cannon. But compared to the songbirds, there was a lot of drawback to using the earshot, even though its single, like, shot damage was, like, enormous. These buffs actually make earshot way more viable. Speaking of its counterpart, though, the songbirds, decrease attack, power, impact, accumulative impact. I'm a bit iffy on this one, because from what I understand, these changes, it never said it in the patch notes, but these changes did not, these changes, like, also, to my knowledge, affect PvE also. Which, in my opinion, like, I get why they would be nerfed for, like, PvE purposes, like songbirds, but nerfing songbirds for PvP I don't think was necessary, because songbirds were basically, like, they were pretty at level, surprisingly enough, with, like, a lot of other weapons. Especially, well, and it's literally because the grenade cannon weapon class in PvP is not as strong as you would think it would be compared to PvE. And that alone just made the Songbirds like more balanced for like PvP. So I don't know how much the decreased attack impact and accumulative impact like values are, but I hope it's not into like uselessness. Sure, if this now like firmly places the Songbirds into this is the grenade cannon you use on a lightweight build, then fair enough. You gotta have some drawback for being able to fit a grenade cannon on a lightweight, right? Oh, but this here, ooh, fantastic. Stun needle launcher. The marriage partner of the Zimmermans pre-patch. Their decreased impact, accumulative impact, direct hit adjustment, attack power on consecutive attacks. What I read on this is basically what they mean by consecutive attacks is the explosions that occur after striking somebody with the stun needle launcher. The little like discharge explosions, that's what it means. But man, decreased impact, accumulative impact, and direct hit adjustment. These things, I hope the nerf is significant enough to make this fall in line, but man, this was necessary. Just stick 2 stun needle launchers on like your build, and you basically have a massive like stagger capitalization tool. It was really good, like borderline broken, or even broken. So yeah, great change right here. Now for all of these right here, laser cannons, increased total rounds, PvE buff. Pulse shield launcher, increased total rounds, pulse shield durability, decreased EN, and weight load. You know what? Pulse shield launcher? I've never used this before, so I can't really say like my thoughts on it. I'd say, hey, buff is good. Buff is good. This one is great though. Decreased EN load and energy firearm spec now applies to the Aurora. The Aurora. Hey, how you doing, Japan owned? You're just looking at the patch for Armored Core, the newest patch for Armored Core 6. I'm just going through like the patch right now. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a lot of time to go through it, but hey. If you want to stick around for a bit, be my guest. If you don't, then I totally understand. I don't got a lot of time though. I'm keeping an eye on the clock here. But yes, Auroras. Unfortunately, they haven't like buffed the guidance on the Aurora, but hopefully the energy firearm specialization now applying to the weapon buffs the weapon significantly enough that it's actually like usable status. I think Aurora could be great if they buff the guidance, but I guess that's not in the cards. I like this change though. Dual missile buffs, just overall buffs to dual missiles. I'm a big fan of the dual missiles. I use them in a lot of my builds, even pre-patch. Like, well, even in like the pre-patch, because I don't know. I just like the style of them. The fact that they're buffed now, great. Now I can feel less bad about using these. Like, I don't feel like I'm nerfing myself. But we should wait and see how much the buffs are. If they're significant enough, then great. A lot of my builds became much more viable. Speaking of more viable, active homing missiles. Oh, I love this. Active homing missiles, in my opinion, were like sleeper hits in my. They were like sleeper hit missiles, in my opinion. The combo potential you can do with active homing missiles. Oh man, pair that with like a melee build. Ooh, you can do some nasty combos with these. So increased guidance, homing, lock time, and projectile speed. All great buffs all around. Increased guidance. That was actually a kind of a needed buff, because even though the guidance was like circumvented by like the slow speed of the missiles, if you just dodge them at the right time, they will just like hit the ground essentially, or they will just lose guidance on you. It was really easy. It was much easier than people think to like dodge these missiles. Homing lock time. I think active homing missiles had like one of the longest like lock times in the game. So, oh wait, what? I'm confused by the verbiage here. Increased homing lock time? Do you mean decreased homing lock time, increased homing lock time, or did you actually just make these even longer to lock on? Because if true, then I don't know about that, because these things already take like a year and a half to lock on. Not as bad as the Coral launcher, but man, I need to check that out. But projectile speed needed buff. Guidance. It's okay for the projectile speed though. What I hope is that they didn't buff the projectile speed too much. The thing that made active homing missiles good, in my opinion, were their persistence because of the fact that they were slow. They lasted long and they were pretty slow. So it's basically like, think of it this way. You're fighting a missile boat build. You have somebody who's using like vertical missiles, aperitifs, but then they also have active homing missiles. The thing is, if you're focused on dodging the aperitifs and then like the vertical missiles, sometimes if you're not like careful, you might forget that, oh wow, you also have active homing missiles just like careening towards you. So you gotta pay attention to that as well. But it's kind of like weird because it's like they're going so slow, but you have to react fast to the other missiles as well. So I don't know. I want to see how these perform now. Needle missile, true no, decrease the guidance, definitely needed. God, these things can literally like these things feel like they could just turn like on a dime at like high speed. Projectiles now follow a stable trajectory. Great. Because of the nerf to like the stun needle launcher, I'm expecting people to use like true nose now, depending on how bad the stun needle launcher was like nerfed. Next one here though, coral missile. Absolutely a much needed nerf. Stick 2 of these on you, and you basically just have like an oppressive like tool that can just win you games with just 2 charge shots, depending on the builds you fight. They didn't nerf the guidance, it looks like, but they basically nerfed everything regarding like direct hit and charge attacks, which is, in my opinion, enough. If these coral missiles still function as like an oppressive tool, much like the active like homing missiles, then I'm happy with that. But I just hope that because of that, I hope the nerfs to the charge attacks are enough to make that like the drawback, you know? Laser orbit. So this is the laser orbit, not the kinetic orbit. The laser orbit got buffed, like all around, which is needed because that was the worst performing of the orbit type of back weapons. So great. Just general buffs all around. I might actually stick that on some of my builds. And the laser turret. I was thinking of a build that used the laser turret, and now this right here, hey, increased projectile speed and laser turret attack frequency. I might actually start using it now. Okay, thanks Xbox. You didn't see the pop-up on the screen, but apparently something malfunctioned with the Xbox Master System. Great. Anyway, that's all the weapon nerfs, and the only thing I didn't see were the stun guns. I'm very curious as to why the stun guns weren't nerfed, because the stun guns were a really powerful option. Like dual wield them on like a fast build or like pretty much any build, and you can just like melt people. So I wonder why they didn't put the stun guns on here. That's the only thing I can think of. Oh, they didn't. They also didn't touch the Karasawa. I just noticed that they didn't touch the Karasawa, which I wish that they did, because for me, I actually want a buff to the Karasawa, which is what I want out of the Karasawa is two things. One is more ammo. I want more ammo for the Karasawa, and two, I want more, I actually want more, like, startup frames for the fully charged attack. I actually want more startup frames for that, because the thing is, the fully charged Karasawa, like, charge attack, if you just fire that point blank range, most people will just get hit by it. And unfortunately, that's probably due to, like, latency issues as well, but most people will just get hit point blank by a fully charged Karasawa shot. And in my opinion, I think the way to circumvent that would be to, like, just increase the startup frames of that move just ever so slightly. Just enough so people can react and dodge even at, like, close range. Because at close range, it's like, to me, it felt like it was nigh undodgeable. Or it is nigh undodgeable. But yeah, and also general ammo buffs as well. Probably doesn't matter for PvP, but for PvE, where I did want to use the Karasawa a lot, I wanted that. But, I mean, I guess it's just stuck at, like, 80 ammo, unfortunately. Frame part buffs. Okay. So, I'm gonna skim through this because it looks like all of the heads got buffed with, aside from the VP44D, interestingly enough. So, everything else got increased attitude stability and system recovery. System recovery, that's the stat that... Okay, that's the status effect, stat. Okay. Increased attitude stability, that's good for the head. Okay. Just increased attitude stability on a couple of parts, so that's great. Increased system recovery for a lot of these. Decreased mind beta system recovery. Oh, wait, is that what they're going to do? Is that what they did for the... Depending on how large the system recovery buffs are, I think that's how they actually, like, indirectly nerf the stun guns. Because a lot of the stun gun's damage is done through, like, status effect, right? Because it's the electric status effect. So, increasing the system recovery on, like, across the board indirectly nerfs the stun guns. So that's how they nerf the stun guns. You could have either nerfed the status buildup of the stun guns or just increase the system recovery of parts, like, across the board. So I guess that was the direction they went with this. So, hey, pretty good. You know what? I like that. So let's go to the cores. Only 2 cores got hit. Nachtreer. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know my German. Nachtreer. Increased attitude stability and generator output adjustment. You know what? I think I might actually make a lightweight build now because of how they buffed, like, the Nachtreer. Yeah, I was thinking of making a lightweight build before because I usually don't tend to like to go towards, like, lightweight builds, like super lightweights. So, you know what? Maybe this is enough for me to make one finally. Ooh, but the nerf to the ephemera. Oh, yeah, okay, so the reason why people picked the ephemera was because of how much, like, generator output adjustment it gave. So, I think this is FromSoft's response to giving it more drawbacks because of that. Which, you know what? Okay, I kind of agree with. It did have pretty high defense for what benefit it gave you as well on top of it. So, I hope the nerfs weren't too bad. The ephemera does have the problem with having one of the lowest kinetic defenses in the game. So, yep. I'll have to see about that. Okay, arms. Basho. Oh no. What do they do to the melee arms? Decreased anti-kinetic defense and anti-explosive defense. You know what? I'm okay with that. Yeah. The Bashos had really good, like, anti-kinetic and anti-explosive defense. So those were just those should just seem like cherries on top for these being the go-to melee arms. Yep, so, you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that nerf. Yep, basically, if you want to go full into, like, melee, then you basically gotta accept, like, drawbacks like these. Okay, I agree with that philosophy. Okay. Why did you nerf the jailbreak? Why did you nerf the jailbreak? These were literally the worst arms in the game and you nerfed them? I don't get it. Wait a minute. Why the jail... Okay, I don't know. Why they nerfed the worst arms in the game, so now they're even worse. I like seeing all this. It looks like all the arms get increased recoil control. Every single one of the arms get increased recoil control. Perfect. Perfect. Real recoil control is such an important stat when it comes to, like, bullet spread. And bullet spread pre-patch was pretty bad. It was actually pretty bad. So increasing the recoil control of a lot of these arms makes, like, certain, like, weapon pairs, or, like, weapons in general, like, they'll hit more often. They'll basically hit more often and be more accurate. Which, you know what? Perfect. I like that. Just buff, what's it called? Buff kinetic weaponry. This affects kinetic weaponry. Well, more so kinetic weaponry than it does laser weaponry. And the main reason for that is because laser weaponry, it fires slow enough that you don't really need the recoil control that much, but kinetic weaponry, they fire at a fast enough rate, or like most of them do, that you kind of need the recoil control. So this is a buff to kinetic weaponry. Perfect. Now for the legs. Increased attitude stability and jump distance across the board, and load limit for the crawlers. Really? Increased load limit for the crawlers. Nice! Okay. They also increased attitude stability for the reverse joints, which, honestly, they needed, because, dude, if you looked at the Kasuar, if you looked at those reverse joint legs, man, that was pathetic attitude stability. Like, I didn't get the idea behind that. Increasing the attitude stability for, like, especially for legs like the Kasuar, definitely needed. So, yeah, okay. So that weak point of reverse joints especially is not really an issue anymore, hopefully. Perfect. Maybe I'll use reverse joints more instead of just, like, as a style choice. But yeah, I also like the increased AP as well. I see increased AP here. Okay, just general buffs all around for legs. On this one here, these here, tetrapods. Arguably, tetrapods were the best leg type in terms of just, like, at least for PvP. They were bygone, like, for me, like, the best leg type. They were really tanky. They had an amazing assault boost kick that hits, like, twice for some reason, and does a ton of, like, stagger damage. So decreasing the amount of health you get from tetrapods, that was a necessary balancing nerf for, like, the leg type, in my opinion. But it seems like that's the only nerf they got, which is interesting. But still, tetrapods being less tanky than tank legs, you know, that only makes sense, right? And speaking of tank legs, they nerfed the Fortaleza. Decreased anti-kinetic defense, decreased defenses and attitude stability across the board for the tank legs, for the wheelchair, but they didn't nerf the speed, which I like. The reason you would use the Fortaleza wheelchair legs is for the speed. So obviously the drawback for using these legs would be that you're kind of a glass cannon because you're so fast. Alright, I like that. Okay, let's go to inner parts. Boosters. Looks like all the boosters got increased upward thrust. Oh man, we are about to see more aerial combat in the game, and I like that. Yes, please, more aerial combat. Yeah, obviously I don't see the grid walkers here because the grid walkers have the highest upward thrust, like they have maxed out upward thrust, so I don't see it. So that's basically why I don't see it here. But everything else getting upward thrust though, fantastic, fantastic. More aerial combat. That's what I like to see. FCS, ooh, FCS nerfs. PO5, Abbott, and Talbot. Decrease close range assist. Ooh, that's interesting. Because for me, the Talbot was my go-to general use FCS. So basically, they nerfed the close range assists of the Talbot, Abbott, and the PO5. So they really want a distinction between it. These are the FCSs you choose for missiles. These are the FCSs you choose for close range. Then these ones for mid, and then these ones for long, if you're a crazy person. Okay. Just make more distinctions between them. And if you want to get, like, all three, like, ranges, or, like, have multiple ranges, you're gonna have to use, like, the Oculus or something, or, like, the RI FCSs that have a bunch of energy drain on it. So, okay, I can see it. I can see why they do that. I'm gonna have to work. I'm definitely gonna have to change up a lot of the FCSs in my builds though, because a lot of them use Talbots. Ooh. Generator changes. Joso, Yaba, and Hokushi. Increase EN capacity, supply recovery, energy firearm specialization. So not supply recovery for the Hokushi, because that one already had great supply recovery. But increased EN capacity for all three? That's pretty good. Like, these are... The Joso might actually be somewhat usable now, as well as the Yaba. Actually, with increased EN capacity, supply recovery, and energy firearm spec, does that mean... Okay, if they're buffed enough, the Yaba might actually be comparable to the VP20C, or the VP20B. No, VP20C? VP20... The really general use VP generator, that one. Okay, alright. Okay, I want to see that, but hey, I've been coming around to using the Hokushi and seeing increased EN capacity and energy firearm spec. Yo, I think I might stick the Hokushi on more builds now. Depends on what I'm using the build for, but because of that amazing, like, recovery that the Hokushi has, geez, I might actually use these on skirmishers type of lightweight builds. I don't know, I might actually use that. Ooh. I'm already using it in some of my builds too, just try it out, but hey, even more reason to. Now, expansion. Pulse protection, increased resilience, and terminal armor. Pulse protection is the shield, actually. It's the orb shield. No, I mean, okay, pulse armor is the orb shield as well, but pulse protection is like, you just plop down like a sphere around yourself, and if the enemy wants to engage you, they have to enter it. That kind of thing. Increased resilience. Okay, I guess. Expansion, terminal armor, increased duration. Okay, make terminal armor at least a little bit more viable. I don't know how that's going to affect PvE or PvP. I think people are still going to use assault armor or like pulse armor, in my opinion. So, yeah. Oh, there's other things here too. Ooh. Okay, let's see what these are. Adjusted attitude recovery rate according to total weight. ACS strain now dissipates much faster on lighter ACs and slightly slower on heavier ACs. Oh, I actually like this change. So the drawback of having a heavier AC, which usually means having higher attitude stability, means that you recover from that strain much slower than a lightweight build. That's a nice balancing factor. Adjusted various boost speed rates according to total weight. I don't know what they mean by this. Do they mean that slower, like heavier ACs are now even slower or something, and then lighter ACs are even faster? Because if that's true, that is, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. Like, shoot, if I throw on like the bell bottom legs on like a heavyweight AC, I could just pretty much just be walking at that point. Man. I mean, look, heavyweight ACs were already like a bit too fast on like certain setups pre-patch, because if you just stuck the Blurzel like boosters on them, you could just make up for that slow speed with just assault boosting. So hey, if this... Oh, speaking of assault boost, decrease top speed during assault boost for heavier ACs. Yes, this is another nerf for specifically tetrapods. One of the big problems with pre-patch tetrapod like assault boost was that assault boost basically, as far as I know, assault boost top speed was like universal, and it was just dependent on your like booster. So now they actually have altered that for heavy ACs. So heavier ACs, like with Blurzels, aren't going as fast as they did pre-patch. So, like I said, another nerf for tetrapods, because one of the big things that tetrapods did pre-patch was assault boost into spin kick. Assault boost into spin kick. Assault boost into spin kick. That's what they did, and it was very effective, and it was busted. So, speaking of tetrapods, decreased boost kick attack range for tetrapod legs. That, wow. Low key, this patch became the let's just bag on tetrapods, which in my opinion, totally necessary because they were overperforming as hell compared to other legs. So yeah, no more boost kick spam, or less incentive to boost kick spam with tetrapod legs. Increase EN consumption while hovering with tetrapods. Why the? Oh wait. No, I know why. Increase EN consumption while hovering with tetrapod legs. They nerfed infinite flight builds. There you go. They nerfed infinite flight. Now okay, theoretically they probably nerfed infinite flight, but that would depend on how just if this like EN consumption is enough to offset the benefit of the coral generator, which is how people got infinite flight. Like if the increased EN consumption is enough, then they don't gotta touch the coral generator at all. But if it's still not enough and people are still able to maintain like infinite flight through certain means, then I would believe that you might have to touch the coral generator a little bit. Yeah, just to nerf like tetrapod hovering. Next one here is a decreased impact reduction effect during assault boost. Impact reduction effect. Oh, so decrease the impact damage you take. Okay, so they increase the impact damage you take during assault boost, essentially. Okay. Decreased impact, accumulative impact dealt while colliding with enemies during assault boost. I didn't know you actually dealt impact and like accumulative impact damage when you're just colliding with someone. I did not know that. Huh. But I guess it was enough for them to nerf it. Oh, this one. Decreased impact, accumulative impact dealt by boost kick from all leg types except reverse joint. I like this change. Basically, they made reverse joints the boost kick legs. They nerfed, well actually, they nerfed the impact of boost kicks on all the other legs so they can basically make reverse joints the boost kick legs. So, I mean, in my opinion, great change. Great change. I like that. I mean, shoot. you gotta make the drop kick the strongest one, right? You gotta make the frog kick or like the kangaroo kick the strongest one. And then the last one here is adjusted damage dealt by certain weapons when attacking the pulse shield deployed from the pulse shield launcher. Okay, alright. So that's the... Okay, bug fixes. I really couldn't care less about bug fixes. I didn't get affected by any of this, so... Yeah, even they said down here, but other bug fixes. Yeah, this is just minor stuff. So overall, I think the 1.03.1 patch... I think it's kind of spicy. I'm gonna have to look in-game for it. However, unfortunately, it looks like that I have basically run out of time. Because I'm about to enter the hours at which my internet will start to throttle. So, yeah. Okay, even though I did want to look over my builds and make changes to them, unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to do that off stream, huh? Unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to do that off stream. Because I still want to do it, it's just that I don't want to wait until the time frame by which my internet throttles is, like, over in the day, because I still have to sleep. I still have to sleep because I got work tonight. Yeah, and also I got a text message from, what did he... Oh, I got a text... Oh, I got a text message from my... Oh, I got a text message from my lender. Ooh. Wait, why? Oh my god, he texted me a week ago and I didn't notice. Oh, Lord, I feel so bad right now. Okay, yeah, alright, yes, I gotta go. I gotta take care of this. Oh no, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Okay, I gotta take care of this. Yep. I will see you next time. Next time we might do some PvP with some new builds, but, yeah. Thanks for joining me looking over this patch. I hope this brings about a new meta that's way less lopsided than the last one. I'm going to, just perform Dogeza in front of, my lender, so, goodbye, and, I'll see you next time, man. Alright, take care. I feel so bad.